Good evening and welcome to another Blether with Heather. I'm your eponymous host, Ali Heather. Now, you're joining us for this special programme in the run-up to the Scots Language Awards, which are this Saturday. You can tune in live. We'll be getting broadcast for all across Scotland at 7:30 p.m. this Saturday. And on Friday, we hear another event, a concert with Iona Fife, the excellent folk singer, as we build up to the Scots Language Awards. I'm delighted to say I'm joined this evening by somebody that's rose to real prominence over the lockdown period, where excellent lockdown Scots words of the day as Wheels poetry. So please welcome Penny. I'm awfully sorry. I couldn't mind exactly what you'd asked me to call you, because of course Penny is a wee bit of a stage name. But Penny, it's absolutely smashing to hear you with us, and it's been really good fun kind of going through your videos. I've been following them for a wee while now. First off, for folks that didn't really ken these videos, that maybe haven't come across them yet, can you just tell folk what you've been up to over the lockdown?
So what I've been doing is basically I take a word or a phrase in Scots and I give a meaning and then I put it in context. I'll put it in a sentence, and sometimes the example sentence will be in English, just because as someone who's learnt another language, I know that often if you're presented with a big wall of text saying, you know, this is the word, this is the etymology, it just goes right over your head. So it's just short, concise words of the day, and that way we can all learn together.
That's a really smashing thing. We're going to talk about the Scots words of the day in more detail in a wee bit, but I thought to give folk a wee into something that you did that went absolutely viral, we'd actually start off with your poem, because it's an absolute cracker. So this poem is called I'm No Having Children.
Hi, this poem is called I'm No Having Children. I'm no having children, I'm going to hae wains, and you can ask what I cry them, know what are their names. They'll be getting a piece, no a wee packed lunch. They'll be haeing a scran, no having a munch. And they'll fanny about, they won't waste time. And when they write their wee poems, I'll make sure they rhyme. I'm no haeing children, I'm going to hae wains, who'll be gowping and beeling when they've got aches and pains. And instead of don't worry, I'll say dinna fash. Instead of stand your ground, dinna take any snash. My wains'll be crabbit, no in a bad mood, and they'll greet, no cry, when their day is nae good. I'm no haeing children, I'm going to hae wains, with a proud ancient language crammed in their wee brains, and whenever life tells them their English is bad, I'll tell them the hassles that their mammy had, and I'll say my ma's words to the day that I'm deed. You'll be all right, hen, you've a good Scots tongue in your head. Thank you.
That honestly, it wasn't just me. Abdi that's seen it just thought like it cheered us all up. It was so bright and so optimistic and so hopeful. In the tweet itself, you put the video out with, you dedicate it to your own mammy. Tell us about how you she got into the poem and based the tweet.
So basically, my mum she's from sort of the Airdrie area, so her accent is quite thick. And the Scots that she speaks is the Scots that I learned growing up with her and my grandparents. And she's a teacher, and she was telling me how in the classroom she doesn't speak Scots, she speaks English, just because, you know, obviously there's a sort of national cringe around Scots, and you're not supposed to speak it in the schools, and you know it's a historical thing. So but when she was saying that, it reminded me of the ways that sort of the hassles that I'd had, where, you know, you speak Scots and you get backlash, you speak Scots and people don't understand you, you feel, so you sort of repress it all. And I thought to myself, no, I'm going to dedicate this to my mum. Like, it's going to be a love letter to the language, but also to my mum. So it's going to be, you know, her teaching me because her mum taught her, and it'll be me teaching my wains, and it's just sort of like just carrying it right through, just making sure that we keep the language alive and you know, keep family alive in the language.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way of putting it, keeping family alive in the language. Because Scots is sort of kent as the language of the hame, but it doesn't need to be that. Can I ask, what did your mammy make of the video? Did she see it before it went out?
No, well, I'd read the poem to her the night before, but then when I put it on the, you know, on Twitter, she saw it on my Twitter, and then said she sent me a message saying something like, I can't believe you're mine. Like, I'm so proud. I'm so you know, because I've been saying poems to her since I was wee, and she used to say to me, "Oh, you don't write poetry, you write poems." So, there's always been a distinction in my mind between poetry written in English and poems written in Scots. So the fact that something so personal could go so public and people can actually resonate with it, it absolutely meant the world to me, and I know it meant the world to her because she was, we're getting emotional over it.
That's what it's all about. It's such an emotionally connective language because it is the in you can for your bairnhood. And something what you put into words there was something that hundreds of thousands of Scots experience all the time because it isn't just folk that can speak Scots or didn't speak Scots. There's that hale grey area of folk that ken the language inside out, but didn't feel it's the right thing to use. How come you feel able to claim it? Where do you get that confidence, Faye?
Basically just like, when people tell me no to do something, when people say I can't do something, I'm like, do you know what, I'm going to like because what's the harm, what's the hassle in doing it? Like you always feel, and I myself even feel sometimes, oh, this isn't the right word to use, this isn't the right context for Scots. But see, last semester at uni, um, I was studying Scottish music, and there's all these academic texts about Scots in English. And I'm like, so Scots is good enough to study academically through the lens of English, but we can't analyse it in Scots, we can't write essays in Scots, we can't write our own poems in Scots or books in Scots. And I just thought, you know what? No, we're going to and if the world can't adjust to that, then that's the world's problem.
See that enthusiasm makes me just want to punch the air. I couldn't be agreeing more with this stuff. It's exactly what I want to be hearing. So you study language at uni. Do you think that helps give you that kind of that to use your phrase that kind of lens to better understand the situation that Scots is in and how it functions?
Well, that's the thing. I've never, ever, ever had any backlash speaking Spanish. I've never had
Mhm.
anybody saying, "Oh, that's not the way you normally speak," or "You're putting that on," or "That's an affectation." And I'm thinking to myself, Scots is a modern language. Scots is a language which has a deep history, like Spanish. It's got contentious history because it was a
Ah.
repressed language. So why have I got such praise for being able to be bilingual with Spanish, but no praise for being bilingual with Scots? And then oh, obviously it's helped in teaching people because I can put it in context. It's not just a word, it's a noun, it's not just a preposition. It's ways which has facilitated the teaching. But in terms of being proud in it, yeah, it definitely has, because it's made me respect Scots as a language.
Aye, we'll get onto that in just a wee second. I should say, for you lovely engaged audience members at home, I've got the feed your comments just at the side of me here, so you can fire in any comments you like into that chat, and we can discuss your questions on air. Or if you just want to say really nice stuff, that's also welcome. So let's take a look. As you say, you started off doing the Scots word of the day. I'd like folk to really make a wee comparison between the video we just seen, where you're utterly confident, you're kind of ruling the roost on there, and how you're appearing the new, and how you come over in this video for Fusty.
Right, so I clearly didn't realise that pronunciation would be an issue. So at the risk of being unclear, I'm going to let you know how I would say it. The word of the day today is fusty.
It's very big, nerdy Princess Leia, isn't it?
Oh
Which
God, it's so cringy when I speak like that. Oh God.
so give the context. How did that come about?
I was tweeting to my 100 followers at the time saying, Scottish words, like I was saying greet and I was saying, Wayne, and they had absolutely no idea what I was saying. So one of my pals who's American, he was like, do you know what, you should do like a word of the day. So I put out a wee tweet just to put wee feelers out, like, oh, maybe I should do this. This would be such a funny idea, wouldn't it? People responded so well. And then I put out just a text, Fusty. And then people were like, oh, is it Fusty? Is it Fustai? How are we saying this? So I was like, all right, I'll put a wee pronunciation guide. And it went absolutely mental. Well, mental at the time to my 100 followers. But and then I do this every day. Like, it was so much fun.
I mean, so you've stuck with it already. It's more than 100 days already, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll be about 110 now.
Unreal. That's amazing. So that Faye there, you kind of nerdy ginger Princess Leia. Let's get into another thing that I thought was really smashing, and it shows a totally different energy to it, and that's Scud.
Oh, God.
Right, lads, Scots phrase the day today is in the scud. This means naked, nude, without clothing. And an example sentence says, what are you running about in the scud for? Scuds are naked pictures, so send scuds means send nudes. And if I see a single one in my DMs, I will hunt you down and kill you.
Very. I mean, aggressive. Aggressive. Scott,
You've got to do
such a funny term. Like, such a funny.
Yeah.
It's in the ones. For me, that was like when I seen that and thought of Scud again. I didn't immediately think of anything sexy. I immediately thought about my dad when I was a bairn, howking me out the bath and rolling me naked in the snow. Like
the Scots,
in the Scots, you know, oh my God, what are you doing? Like it's that kind of, there's something so kind of fun and innocent about it. Like Scuddy Dookin is what I'd call skinny dipping.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm still enthusiastically into whenever I get the chance. But tell us about that transition. How come you got more comfortable with the format and how come you stuck with it?
It was, I mean, I started it because it was lockdown, I was bored, I was not getting out, you know, how do you get out of bed if you're on furlough? And, you know, and then I thought, no, I'll get up, I'll put makeup on and I'll film myself teaching Scots to the internet. And it's the response really that kept me going because like for every person that was liking it, every person that was asking questions about etymology and stuff, it really just lit a fire under me. And I was like, do you know what? This is what I'm passionate about because this is the language I speak and now I can share it with people. And oh my God, it's been amazing. So yeah, it's phenomenal. I love it.
It is. No, it's great. And you can see that folk are really positively engaged with it. And you can see why, because you explore all this smashing stuff. I've got another video lined up, and that is it's a phrase this time, actually. So let's have a look at that, Ian.
All right, lads, Scots phrase of the day today is Lang may your lum reek. This literally translates to long may your chimney smoke, or may you always have fuel for your fire, and is something that we say on birthdays and other celebrations to just let people know that we love them, we hope their life is long and blessed and happy. An example sentence says, happy birthday, mate, lang may your lum reek.
So something that you do so well is really you just pick and choose for the whole kind of Scots vocabulary and the whole kind of phraseology, all the Scots swords we have for the last 500, 600 years. You pick the things that really resonate. Ken, you didn't have many stinkers. I'm like, it is a word, but it's not a word I care about. Like you pick these things that are dead central. How do you make your selection? Are you sitting there with a Scots dictionary? Are you ringing your mum?
No, well, that's the thing. I've got so many friends from across Scotland. So people are always like, oh, where'd you come from? Because I've not heard this word. I've heard that one. I've not heard that one. I'm like, well, I've got friends from Fife. I've got friends from Airdrie. I've got friends from, you know, even people who live in yeah, all the best places.
Fife to Airdrie.
Fife and Airdrie. What else is there? So yeah, I mean that in Lang me your lumreek I did on my birthday, so it was kind of it was me just a bit tongue in cheek there. But no, the thing is, like, there's words and phrases that I have never heard before that I'll do because I think, wow, that's amazing. And I think if I didn't hear it, there's chances are loads of other kids have not heard it, or loads of other teenagers, or loads of other adults. So the thing is about Scots is that there's so many dialects within the language. If I thought if I could create a sort of an online database of Scots, it can be a bit demystified, and then, you know, you can even search it on Twitter. If you hear a word, if I reference a word like mock it and you think, what does mock it mean? Just type it in and up comes a video.
Here, that's a shout. I'll ask for folk that are in the comments, folk watching this at home. There's already folk joining and just saying lovely things like Kirsty Cromie. Really enjoying the chat, guys. Cheers, Kirsty. Feel free to chuck us in. If there's a word for your area that's dead specific, Ken, like if you say, Orkney, some part of Glasgow, where you hate a dead localised word, chuck it in the chat and see. We've got Grant Robertson. Hi, I'm Faye Dunfermline. All right, Grant, man. Is there some wee South Fife word that maybe you ken that both of us will know and you can give us the definition on air? That'd be really cracking. Is there... So I've been to Airdrie once, right? And I went down and watched Dundee United scrap to a 1-0 cup win in a dreary midwinter. And truth be told, I didn't speak to anybody from there. I didn't interact with them at all. What would be words that are more common in Airdrie than they are over here on the sun-struck bonny East Coast?
I'm not even sure because, like, some of the things I say, like, people at work even now are like, why are you saying that? Because the other day, I said the now. And I'm not even sure if that's an Airdrie thing or whether that's just what we say in my house. But I've always said the now. And my friend was saying that comes from Gaelic. There's a certain phraseology that has transferred from Gaelic to English, or from Gaelic to Scots, when you're saying the now, the day, the morra, the night, stuff like that, I always say, but apparently that's not a widespread Scots thing.
Here, no, I ken that most folk around me would say the now or the new, but with a Gaelic, I might make an absolute fool of myself, but that'll not stop me. I think the new in Gaelic is Andrasta.
Yes, yes,
Is that right?
yeah.
Aye.
That's
Hey!
it, yeah.
Brother languages. We're all in this together. But that the new thing. I'm not sure about, like, 'cause Scots has its own sense of time. So you can hear things like ken that I thought the time was universally kent. Do you meet up for a pint? You meet up at the back at 8. Like, just roughly the back at 8, and that's kind of this. Like, you're in the pub. It doesn't matter if you're there at 2 minutes past, you're there at 37 minutes past. It's all the back at 8.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I flitted to New Zealand. Exactly. Flitted to New Zealand, and they're like, well, I'm going to need specifics, mate. Like 8:15, 8:30, what is it?
It speaks to like a nonchalance about that's a French word, but yeah, like the sort of laid back, easygoing, humorous, lighthearted. That's how people, when people are like, oh, why is Scots so, tied to the culture? I'm like, well, the language and the culture inform each other.
That's it. You can't express yourself out with, like, language is the way that culture marks itself out, and that's the great risk. Say losing Scots or Scots thinning out would be a weakening, thinning out of the culture. I think. What's your take on that?
Well, I get a lot of comments like, why even bother? Like, why not just speak English? And I'm like, well, why? Why are we so Anglo-centric that we have to default to English? When you're growing up and you're in school and it's like, it's not a piece, it's a sandwich, it's not a cap, it's not a bunnet, it's a cap, and you're like, why can't it be a piece? Why can't it be a bunnet? Why can't it be, baffies or lugs or, why are we so Anglo-centric that we have to speak a language that was, enforced and imposed upon us?
Aye, it's the worst sort of arrogant glaicatry that folk would think being monolingual is better than being bilingual or trilingual or whatever. Hold on, I'm just... Thomas Kane is just saying that Kevin Bridges makes the observation that Scots doesn't measure distance with miles and kilometres, it measures it in time. So, it's only 15 minutes away. Ahin's done by time rather than done by actual distance. Well, I suppose it depends how you're travelling. Cheers for that, Thomas.
Hi, Thomas. That's pal.
Is that your pal? All right, Thomas, how you doing, pal? Where about me?
Just back home. That's my brother.
That's
my brother. That's Greg Penny.
Greg Penny. Really prudy hen, mither and feather. Well, hello to the Penny clan. Where are they? Are they central Scotland somewhere?
Aye, back in Dublin. Yeah, there. Oh, God.
I'm hoping they have a happy lockdown. They should be awfully proud of you. Actually, I thought we'd actually go on just before we run out of time. I'm dead interested in the reaction you got. We had a wee blether before we come on air here, because obviously this is top quality production, and we did that sort of preparation. And we were talking about how Scotland, and indeed Scots, was kind of bogged down in misogyny, kind of like Burns Nights were male-only events, until Know That Lang Syne. And you being a bold, confident Scots-speaking woman, sharing your culture and sharing your language, it's mostly positive. Like, absolutely 90% of what is positive, and that's what you want. But tell us a wee bit about, do you get more friction for being a lassie rather than if you're a male?
God, I mean, I can't speak for the lads, but I would say that most of the hate I've got has been, they use gender-based language to describe it. So they say things, they sexualize me, or they make it really weird. And the thing is, that's not what I'm about in my Twitter. So when I see anything like that, it does make me feel really uncomfortable. But also, I have seen from other women who have been outspoken about Scots that they've got a lot of hate. Like Janie Goodley, she gets so much hate, and it's like, how like, I don't understand why it's different because I'm a lassie. I don't understand why it's there's something in these people's brains that thinks, oh, we'll just take her down a peg. It's like, well, no, you can try, but you're not going to do it. Like.
You can try, but you're not going to do it. I can say firmly for the whole Blether with Heather production, those folk can get it right round them, because the idea to try to shut somebody down is about the worst thing you can do. We were talking about folk being told in schools not to speak Scots. You're an adult out there in the world doing what you want. Folk try to shut you down. It's trying to deny your allowance to exist as a person. And you're right.
It's only Scottish people. That's what I can say. I have hundreds of Americans. I've got hundreds of English followers. It's the Scots that are doing it, and I'm like, don't know what's wrong with you, mate, but I'm not ashamed of myself.
Don't know what's wrong with you, mate. I'm no ashamed of myself. The number of Scots folk, and again, you hate to forgive them to an extent because they're growing out a place that's been weird for ages. Like, Scotland's a funny wee country, and it's getting better, and we're moving in the right direction, all that good stuff. Here we are, building up to the second Scots Language Awards. There's hundreds of great cultural things happening, but we hate to make sure that change keeps happening. You're the centre of the change, and it's exciting. Like, what you're doing is exactly what we're needing. It's part A Scotland becoming better. I thought we did have a couple more clips lined up. It'd be a shame to let them go by. So we can play out another of your Scots phrases.
Right, lads, Scots phrase of the day today is, it's a lang road that's no got a turning. This is a phrase which means, things will turn around, things will get better, the sun will shine and you will be happy again. My example sentence today feels particularly relevant. If you're going through it, keep going. It's a lang road that's no got a turning.
That is quite soothing, eh? We did, obviously you've been doing this for coming on 110 days now. The hail of that, you've been we've all been in some sort of either full lockdown, semi-lockdown. There's a lot of time spent alone. There's a lot of time spent away from folk that are essential to your like your social circles and all that. That phrase is one of the things that gives you that smedum to keep moving for it. Has this been a good process for you, just keeping connected with folk over the period?
It genuinely has been. I mean, that phrase in particular, I remember, was done for National Suicide Prevention Day. So I thought I might give a wee bit of context for that. But the thing is, I do definitely struggle with mental health issues. So the fact that for 100 days I can say, hand on heart, I've got up out of bed, I've put makeup on, I've engaged with people, I've felt like I've achieved something, and I can look back on that and think, here, I've done this. Like, I went from being so shy and anxious and not confident in myself to now even doing this. Like, this is, if you told me 100 days ago that I'd be sitting talking to you on a podcast, I'd have said away, but I'm
and honestly, it's an absolute pleasure. It's good fun. You're absolutely designed and built for it. I'm seeing Kate Ree Fairley, apologies, I got your middle name wrong there. She just saying, love it, hen, exclamation mark. You're obviously spreading the right vibes, and folk are really enjoying it. So give us, before we wrap up for the day, just give folk that are watching your social media handles so they can keep up to date with how you're doing in the future.
I am Lenny Soros on Twitter, Miss Punny Penny, on YouTube, and yeah, that's all you need to know about me.
Brilliant. So make sure that you follow Miss Punny Penny on YouTube and Lenny Soros on Twitter, so you can keep up with her Scots words of the day. The poems, sorry, I was saying poems earlier on. Your mother would correct me, no doubt. Keep up with your Scots poem. Honestly, what you're doing is so inspiring to hundreds and thousands of folk, and you're spreading the right message out there in social media, where most of us are spending more and more time because we're all locked in the house. So Penny, cheers very much indeed for joining us. I'll just no, absolutely, it's so good, so good. And our audience sat at home joining in, saying lovely things. Thanks very much for joining us as well. I'll mind you, 7:30 this Friday, Iona Fife is playing a live concert for us. It's going to be sensational. And then 7:30 Saturday evening, join us right back here on the Hands Up for Trad YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. We're going live with a big, fun, laughter-packed event with loads of awards celebrating the Scots lead. So cheers very much to Penny. Cheers very much to Simon, the secret producer in the background, for pulling all the strings. And cheers very much to the audience for being engaged. And I'll see you later in the week.